about that I think is connects these first two uh, sessions that we're kind of talking through. I think it really will be what ties in everything. So we talk about the telescopic view of leadership, the lens that we have to use for vision. Vision's important. How many agree after hearing that? That's super important. We have to have vision in our organization. Any organization without a vision will not succeed. Uh, but the second lens that leadership has to use is the microscope. Right? Why are things small? Because they are. They are. And you can't use a telescope for what only a microscope requires. Okay? A telescope won't give you everything you need to see. You can't find an atom with a telescope. You have to use a microscope. So somebody say zoom in. Zoom in. So telescope's about zooming out. Microscope's about zooming in. Zooming in. See, leadership isn't always, I know this may be a shock for some, it's not always about grand gestures. It's not always about the moment being on the stage and the power of God moving in your church. Right? Matter of fact, if you think that is leadership, you've missed 80% of what leadership is. Every pastor in this room, every leader, business leader in this room, it would tell you that 80% of their job is not on that stage. It's not in front of the people. It's dealing with the day-to-day and dealing with the people of the day-to-day. It's the small, often unnoticed actions that build trust, create culture, shape character, and define the why. The why. See, microscopic leadership is often seen as unglamorous. It's the leadership that doesn't make the headlines. It doesn't get the applaud from the pulpit. And it certainly doesn't feel as exciting as casting vision. But let me tell you something. This kind of leadership is what holds everything together. Again, my natural tendency is to be a visionary. And I'm telling you, I can encourage everybody. I believe God has given me the gift to inspire. I hope you hear my passion when I speak. But if it wasn't for my wife, none of it would come to pass. If it wasn't for a woman that understood administration at a level that she understands. My wife does physical therapy, and she manages over a $10 million facility with about 25 people that have way bigger of a degree on their wall than she does. And she's done it for 15 years. She is a master at the microscope. Microscopic leadership isn't very glamorous, but is what holds everything in an organization. Microscopic leadership sees what others, if a telescope sees what people can't see, microscopic leadership sees what others overlook. Leaders with a microscope don't just dream the dream, hear me, they guard the details that make it possible. Leaders with a microscope remind us that small things matter because trust is built one detail at a time. A microscope leader strengthens today, hear me, so the vision can survive tomorrow. They're able to notice small cracks before they become fractures. I want us to understand the difference from a telescope and a microscope. The microscopic leadership, they notice the small cracks in an organization. They notice when things start to leak. They notice when things start to fall apart. That's what it's gifted. That's what this lens is gifted to do. It notices the small things before they become big things. The disengaged volunteer before they walk out the door. The struggling family before they fall apart. Where the money's leaking in the business. Where we spending little bitty things that we can tighten up on. That's what the microscope is able to do when the leader holds it in the right place. Leaders with a microscope don't just ask what we're building, they ask if we're building it well. A microscope leader protects the culture others take for granted. See, leaders with a microscope care less about being seen and more about making sure nothing gets missed. As a leader, it's important that we have a telescope, that we're seeing where we're going, but it is also important. It's also important as a leader of your home, as a leader of your business, as a leader of your ministry, that you can pick up a microscope and notice what needs to change. What's getting missed. Microscope leaders know that without help in the small things, there will be a collapse in the big things. See, Moses had a microscope when he appointed judges to handle all the small disputes. It wasn't his idea, but he did it. He recognized wisdom when it was told. Actually, Jethro was the one with the microscope that encouraged him to make the decision, and the leader made the decision. Because it wasn't profitable for him to be doing everything. Jesus had a microscope when he noticed the one woman touching the hem of his garment. But Lord, there's thousands of people touching you. No, only one that had faith. Paul had a microscope when he told Timothy to watch both his life and his doctrine closely. See, the scope of leadership understands that it's the unseen and often unappreciated attention to detail that keeps an organization moving forward. We need a vision. We need to inspire the people, but you got to give them something to do to get there. And here's the thing, this kind of leadership comes with attention. Do we remain buried in the details or risk missing everything altogether? There's a tension with that. Because the microscope can get lost in a lot of stuff. But without it, you miss everything. And there's this tension of moving back and forth, of examining and pulling back. Examining and pulling back. But here's where the tension rises even more. When we neglect microscopic leadership, it begins to crumble from the inside. There's nothing that will frustrate people more in your organization, in your church, or in your business if all you do is preach vision, 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 and nothing ever gets done. I remember being a youth pastor that I was just telling a brother I just met. I remember being a youth pastor, and our youth ministry outgrew the church. We had way more students showing up on a Wednesday than we did in the church. And I remember for 5 years, it was the pastor preached that I love this man. He is a wonderful man, wonderful human being. He was a father to me. But why I teach this now is because it's so important. He was a vision strong, but he didn't know how to use his microscope, and we never built a building for our youth ministry. And I became frustrated. I walked out into the yard. I took my Bible and I quoted scriptures. I threw oil all over that ground. I spoke God's word, and it never came to pass because the leader didn't know how to use a microscope to get it done. Okay? Nothing more will frustrate your staff and your volunteers if it's all vision but no plan. Now look, am I downgrading vision? Absolutely not. You need both. True leadership is learning how to use both lenses. And a microscopic lens helps you understand how to move your organization forward. It sees the small details. It has the tensions in it of knowing what to do so we don't miss everything else. The big idea may be bold and beautiful, but without leaders who can zoom in and ensure every part of the body is functioning properly, that idea is nothing more than a dream. Microscopic leadership asks the hard questions. Here's a question. Are we truly making disciples, or are we just filling seats? Good question. Is our staff healthy, or are they silently burning out? I know that's more of a spiritual part, but that works in business as well. Are our systems running smoothly, or are we just simply putting on a polished Sunday show? Let me flip that. Is our systems not good? Is our Sunday really good? Is our Sunday not good? I know that seems like more of a consumerism, but it's not. There's just some place, there's some businesses in this community you just won't go to because you've been to it one time. Have you stepped back and go, is my church, if you weren't the pastor of the church, would you go to it? Does this feel good when I show up? What does the feeling feel? Does it smell good? Does the bathrooms clean? Is there weeds in the yard? Is it, come on. I know that's very unspiritual, but it's very spiritual actually. It's called excellence. It's called intentionality. Are you doing something because you've always done it? Or are you doing it with a why behind it? We run our services like this because of this reason, and it's tied to our vision. Or just we do it because we've always done it this way. The lens of the microscopic leadership is not afraid to examine the nitty-gritty or the often uncomfortable details, because real growth doesn't just come from dreaming big, but from tending to the small. There's a book called The 1% Rule. Anybody ever read it? I encourage you to. It's called The 1% Rule. The gist of the book is this: every day, get up and be 1% better than you were yesterday. If I change the way I handle my finances 1% today, if I change how I handle my health 1% better today, if I change how I handle my conversations 1% better today, if I can lead my people 1% better today, in a year I'm 365% better. And I do that over and over and over and over. It's the 1% rule. I mean, I'm sure you remember this in school. You take, the shortest distance to one place to another is a line, right? If you took a line and shot it into space, and you shoot an identical line right beside it, but you just change it by 1 degree, for a long time, it's going to be in the same path until eventually it just moves. It's the small details that make growth happen. And yet, the passion of a microscopic leadership is found in its patience. It takes humility to labor in the shadows, to address the small things as much as with passion as the big things. Now, again, for those that are more organizational and more administrative in the room, you're like, yeah, but those of us in the room that are more vision-driven, mission, it feels like a lot of work. It is. It is. And I want to encourage you that the reason why we feel that way, I can say this from my perspective, is that, yeah, it doesn't seem as fun because it's not as encouraging, but I've found to love the details now of fixing things, because all it ever does is give me more satisfaction to the big. And if I can learn to be passionate, people that are creative, any creatives in the room that you think more creatively, you're kind of abstract, I used to hear, because my wife has said this to me, she said, you're just more creative. I'm not very creative. I said, no. You're not creative at flashy stuff, but you can sit down and write a note and a schedule and organize 16 different organizations and bring them into one. That is creativity to the extreme, because you naturally drift that way. So I might be jumping ahead, but if you are a pastor that's more of a visionary, and maybe that's a struggle right now, because any person that is administrative has to be led by somebody that's more of a vision caster and tries to be administrative, there's a lot of frustration that comes with that. I'd encourage you, find somebody that lines up with your vision and your culture, and give them some of that vision to say, I need you to run with this. but it's important. A lot of times visionaries don't think that it's important. Oh, they're just lost. No, no, no. We need to know how many trash cans need to be placed out if we're inviting 200 people into the room to eat. We got to know that. I might not have to be in the conversation, but somebody better have that conversation. The lens of the microscope is not afraid to have the nitty-gritty. But it's in those details that lives are transformed. It's the one-on-one conversations. It's the follow-ups. It's the course correcting of the systems. It's the defining. It's the defending. It's the defining and the defending of culture. This is the leadership that often goes unnoticed, but is absolutely essential for any organization. Your family cannot function unless you figure out a plan. Who's picking this kid up from this practice? Who's going here? What time does that start? When are you going to be home? Who's cooking dinner? It has to have a system. If not, you live in chaos. Come on, mamas and daddies that know what I'm talking about. When we don't plan our week out at our house, it turns into chaos because those kids direct everything. That's it. He said that's what's happening. Revelation. It's defining the culture. This is the leadership that often goes unnoticed and absolutely essential. Microscopic leadership is in one word for me. It's one word. If telescopic leadership is one word, vision, microscopic leadership in one word is healthy. Oftentimes, and I understand this, there was a wave of, the word grow has become a yucky word in church leadership sometimes. Like, oh, you're just talking about numbers. You're just talking about people. You're just talking about being a big church. And I understand the reasoning for that. I don't like to use the word grow because of people's perception of it. I use healthy. Because here's the thing. When you ask that question, if I say, hey, is your business growing? Well, that can mean I was just talking to the brother. It's like, numbers are good. To know what numbers are, give you information. But I own a business. One of the businesses I own a car wash. Don't ask me why. I just got into it. But I own a car wash, and it's doing pretty good. I've only had it a couple of years. We're remodeling. I'm in the process of moving to where I want it to go. And I have an automatic wash that does memberships, and then I got 4 self-serves. Well, my self-serves almost make as much money as my automatic with membership. I'm like, man, you're killing it. Yeah, but no, because I'm the only self-serve in the whole town of 10,000 people. So numbers tell a story. They just don't tell the whole story. And when you step back and go, is this healthy? It can change the whole perspective of what you're looking at. Because I know everything that big is not always healthy. And everything that's small isn't always healthy. I remember a man that I was in church staff with that played tennis all the time, was a skinny guy, had a heart attack. He didn't look like he was unhealthy, had a heart attack. So he can be small and unhealthy, he can be big and unhealthy. But the question is, the microscopic leader will step back and go, is this healthy? I like saying it this way, is this trending up or is it trending down? Is your marriage growing? No. Is it trending? I guarantee it is. It's either one of 3 things. It's either trending up, it's either trending down, or it's in cruise control, which eventually just trends down. Is your business trending up, or is it trending down? And here's the thing. That's the whole, or it could be, according to a microscope, one area of your business, one area of your ministry could be trending down. Your kids' ministry could be trending down. Your youth ministry could be trending up. But if you don't ever use the microscope, you'll never ask why. Is your organization healthy? Is your systems healthy? Is your body healthy? Is your soul healthy? Jesus said this in Luke 16:10. Whoever can be trusted with very little can be trusted with much. The idea is the details matter because trust is built one small moment at a time. If he can trust me with a little, then he'll trust me with more. Microscopic leadership is less about the things we do once in a while. I'm talking to visionaries here. Microscopic leadership is less about doing things once in a while and more about what we do consistently. What are you consistently implementing? What are you consistently making sure and putting boundaries up and guarding and defining and securing? What are you consistently pushing? I said it earlier, Lamentations chapter 3, verse 40. This is our personal help. Let us test and examine our ways. That why? So we can return to the Lord, to his vision, to his purpose, to your tailored fit design for the Great Commission. Let us examine our ways. You can't examine your ways with a telescope. Preaching vision to you when you have leaders leaving your church or people falling away or youth ministry that hasn't existed yet or is failing. You can't just preach vision and that's going to heal it. It may inspire them to keep them there, but you've got to put a plan together and you got to guard it and you got to protect it and you got to lay it out before it will actually come to pass. You can't do that with a telescope. You've got to do it with a microscope. Before we lead others, on a personal level, we must learn to lead ourselves. I find the more I am disciplined with me, Adam, on things that I'm not good at, the better I can lead others. Now, I understand the dichotomy of stay in your strengths and not your weaknesses, but most of us say that because we're not willing to look at our weaknesses. Most of us say that because we want to ignore what really needs to change. And if you're a leader that's so disorganized in your own life, don't expect other people to get things done if you're not willing to meet them where they're at. I'm not saying you always got to do it. I promise you, my wife is better at balancing the checkbook than I am because she's just more administrative. But I have to meet her when she says, I need this, I need this, I need this, don't do this, I need you to give me this. I'm willing to meet her where she's at so that we can move forward as a family. I know that's very practical, but it's important. You as a leader, you must meet people that are there to help you and to accomplish things. You have to meet them where they're at, even if it's not your strength. We have to learn to lead ourselves. And that begins by looking under the microscope, self-examination. And all the ways of a man are clean and innocent in his own eyes, right? In his own actions. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. But the Lord weighs and examines, microscopes, gets down to the nitty-gritty, deals with the deep, dark places of the person's life and the motives and the intents of the heart. If God does that to us individually, and if he's put you as a leader over something, how much more should we be doing that to our organization? It is not, well, it's just about me and Jesus. It is about you and Jesus, but it's about you and Jesus and replicating what he does. And we have to be a people that understand the microscope just as much as the telescope. I call it the examination room. You ever go to the doctor, right? You got to go to the examination. Nobody likes the examination room. You know why? Most of the time, you got to get vulnerable. Won't go into detail. But most of the time, when you're in the examination room, you're getting a little vulnerable. And you got to hear the tough conversation. You got to be prepared for the answer you don't want to hear. It can be awkward. But life changes are made in the examination room. Organizational changes are made in the examination room. Decisions are made in the examination room. Redirection is made when you get under the microscope. We did this event. It didn't work that well. Why didn't it work well? Well, so-and-so didn't do their job. Okay, well, let's examine that why. It's not the preaching on the weekend. It's not laying hands on somebody and seeing them healed. But this is what moves your church, your business, your life forward. This didn't work. How do we make it better? The examination room. When I am healthy, my team is healthier. When the systems are healthy, the ministry flourishes. Analytics and numbers matter, but so does soul care. So is what kind of culture your organization has. Do you realize every one of our homes has a culture? So people always ask me, because I'm from the South and I live in the North, they're like, what's the biggest difference from the North and South? There's not much difference. There really isn't. It's just how they approach the same thing. I say this all the time when you're in the South. If you came into my mom and dad's house right now, she would look at you and say, make yourself at home. And what that means is, to a Southerner, that if you want to take your shoes off, take them off. If you want to prop your feet up on the coffee table, prop your feet up on the coffee table. If you want something to drink, don't ask. Just get it in the refrigerator. And if you don't, I'm offended that you think that my house ain't good enough for you to go get something. Okay? In the North, they say, come make yourself at home. What that means is, take your shoes off, stay in the room I brought you in. And if you want something, just ask and I'll get it for you. Same thing, just two different ways to deal with it. Here's another one. Down south, if they don't like you, they'll just wait till you walk away and talk about you. In the North, they'll just say it to your face. That's the differences. Same thing, it's just different approach. I forgot the reason why I said all that. Yes, culture. Every house has a culture. Every place has a culture. Your church has a culture, whether it's intended or not. Whether you intentionally did it, it will drift to a certain culture. There's a reason why you go to certain fancier restaurants and the lights are dim and certain style of music and all the waiters are dressed in a certain garb or a certain way they present themselves. That's why you go to Chick-fil-A over another chicken place, because they say it's my pleasure, and they'll do whatever they want because they set a culture there. Your church, your ministry, your house, your business has a culture to it, and it will drift any direction it will if you don't set up boundaries and put it under the microscope and say, why are we doing what we're doing? How are you protecting this culture to do what God has called us to do? And anything that is counterculture to that, we're going to get rid of it. But that only happens not with the telescope, but with the microscope. You have to examine why you're doing what you're doing, how you're doing it. It's important. So here are 5 ways I'll go into that now. So we have the telescope vision. We have the microscope that's seeing the fine details, that is examining the small things. They both play a part in our leadership. They both play a part in how we move, how we design, how we march, how we take the vision God has given us and go into our community. You can't be all vision and no plan. No dissecting. You can't be so detailed that nobody can follow and get lost in the details. Okay? I always when I go into staff meetings and leadership meetings, I always make sure that people that are more administrative tend to lose a room very quickly. Okay? If they're not mature leadership. And here's the thing. This is what I want you to really get to understand here. It's not, yes, there's a gifting that some of you lean towards one or the other, but true leadership, mature leadership, use both. This is the thing. I understand your strengths, delegate your weaknesses. That is all part of it. But here's the problem. Most leaders will only lean one way or the other. And God has not called us to do that. Your organization is not called to do that. A great mature leader becomes a master of both. Sometimes the detailed people, when they lead a meeting, everything's drowned in the discussion of who's bringing the trash baskets to the conversation. You're like, oh my Lord, we've been on this 30 minutes. Somebody make a decision, right? Then on the other side of that, I've been with leaders, and I've been a leader that's just come and said, we're doing this, we're going here. And before you know it, they've already booked the venue. They've already got people showing up, and they're like, well, wait a minute. What do you mean we're doing this? Who's over all this? Right? That's the dichotomy. You need both lenses. Mature leadership uses both lenses. They use the microscope, they use the telescope. So let me give you 5 things. We're getting ready to close this session out, and everybody can go eat. Here are 5 ways we can master the art of leading through 2 different lenses, the microscope and the telescope. The first thing I think is this: situational awareness. I have been trying to teach my 15-year-old this for at least 3 years. When to say a joke and when not to say a joke. There is a time to be funny, and there is a time not to be funny. And when my face looks like this, it's not funny time. Bob laughs because he knows my son. He is a prankster and a fun kid. He's a great kid. The situational awareness, knowing when to zoom in and knowing when to zoom out. Knowing when I should push vision right now and knowing when I should sit back and let's go over the details. What are we missing? Where are we not healthy? Why is this not growing? Here's the thing. When my daughter had this little blanket, and it was called he called her Mimi, is what she called it. I bought her a really pretty blanket. For whatever reason, this ugly gray blanket with owls on it was the one she wanted, and that was her Mimi. You know, and when she was little, she's 9 now, but when she was like little, she loved that thing. She would pet it. She'd talk to it. She'd hold it. She loved on it, and it was so cute when she was 2. Now imagine if she was 22. Imagine if she was 42 walking around. You'd be like, that girl needs to be on some medication. Or let's get the anointing oil and let's cast it out. Healthy things grow. Healthy things grow. And knowing when we should zoom in, when we should zoom out, is part of it. Wisdom is knowing which lens to use and when to use it. Leaders must discern the season. Some situations require you to step back and see the whole picture, while others require you to get close and address the details. It's important. If you always zoom out, you overlook the cracks that are forming underneath you and you don't know it. And if you only zoom in, you lose sight of where you're even going. You can't see the forest for the trees. Here's some more practical things. I always like to give a little bit of practicality. As a leader, you should regularly pause and ask yourself, in this moment, is this calling, for vision or for detail? Anytime a situation shows up with leadership, or there's a problem, or there's a situation, step back, is this calling me to push vision right now? Or do I need to dissect this into some details? Is this an attitude problem, or is this a vision they don't understand the problem? In this season, is this a season of growth, or is it maybe a time to step back and remind people of the mission? In this season, is it a season of tension, or is this a season or a challenge that you may need to roll up your sleeves and just get to the specifics of what needs to be done? Is this a tough conversation I got to have, or do I need to preach faith and hope? So situational awareness is one way to use both lenses. Number 2, empower and use your team's strength. Your weakness is an invitation for somebody else's strength. No one leader is equally skilled at vision and detail. That is not an excuse for you not to grow. Matter of fact, some of the greatest leaders that I know, not because they have big ministry, but some of the greatest leaders I've ever sat under were able to switch the lenses, but they understood their limit. That's why healthy leadership involves building teams where different perspectives balance each other out. Visionaries need implementers. Detailed people need dreamers. So here's an example. As a leader, you should surround yourself with people who see what you don't. Every one of us in here have blind spots. Every vehicle you've drove here in today has a blind spot, and they're all different. If you lean toward big picture dreaming, give space for people who thrive on execution and follow through. And don't argue with them if it lines up with vision and culture. If it doesn't affect the culture and the vision, don't fight the system. I know it may be more work for the dreamer. If you naturally live in the weeds, bring people who push you to look beyond today. So the organizational people will be the most stressed out people in change. I need you to know that sometimes getting lost in the weeds is losing the vision. And your leader, your pastor, has to make that move. Equip and empower them, and don't let pride, come on somebody, don't let pride keep you from leaning on their strength. You know when this is the hardest? Not when trouble's happening, when success happens. When you become successful in something will be the hardest when this happens. Because you'll just want to repeat with a map. You got to make sure God ain't giving you a compass. Number 3, y'all getting something out of this? Number 3, keep the vision in front of people constantly. Constantly. Just because you're naturally not the dreamer doesn't mean you can't repeat the vision. Matter of fact, I believe that's when culture really happens. It's when the leader, I remember this commercial. I can sing it right now. Call Goldberg, 800-600-6014. The reason why I still remember that, I'm 43, I learned that when I was 13 because they played it every day, 15 times a day in the summer, watching TV at home. It was a lawyer firm. Culture constantly must be dripped. Vision constantly must be said. It should be in every sermon you preach in your church. We're preaching the gospel. Yes, preach the gospel. But where's the gospel taking this ministry? Vision should be preached every moment you stand in front of other people in your team. You should be speaking it. And this is how you know they got it, leader, when they start saying it back to you. Say it so much that they have to repeat it. And when first time they repeat it, they're just getting the taste of it. Vision leaks. Let me say that again. Vision leaks. So leaders must keep refilling it. Come on, that's good. I've said this 1,000 times. Well, you just scratched the surface. Say it 10,000 more. Vision leaks, so you got to keep refilling it. Even the clearest vision will fade if it's not repeated and reinforced. People naturally get lost in the details of their work and forget the larger purpose. Business owners, think about that. I'm just over here going down the line. I'm just sitting here doing this. I'm hammering the same old stuff. They lose the purpose. Leaders must intentionally and consistently remind their teams where they are headed, not just when they feel off track, but as a steady rhythm of leadership. Here's some instruction. As a leader, you should weave vision into everything. I just said that. Meetings, conversations, trainings, even problem-solving moments. Instead of waiting until morale drops or momentum fails, Consistently remind people of the greater mission. When you make the vision a drumbeat, the details stop feeling like busy work and start feeling like steps towards something meaningful. The details won't get on your nerves as much when vision is constantly being said. It becomes the drumbeat, the anthem of your church and of your organization. Number 4, build systems that handle the details. Systems. I find that this is a hard word for a lot of smaller organizations. But everything has a system. There's a system to how we got in this house this morning. Somebody was here and unlocked the door. Somebody turned the lights on. Systems. In the more spirit-filled church, we don't like structure very much. Not everybody, but we complain about structure often. And I would say structure is wrong when that's the point. What I do believe is this: we should be doing everything we know we can do at the excellence that we can do it and let God handle what we can't. Systems goes hand to hand with excellence. And excellence is a relevant term. Because excellence is based on what you have available at the moment. And so if you're a church of 50 people, unless you've got a bank account a mile long, you can't compare your 50-member church to a 500-member church when it comes to excellence. But you can be as excellent as you can at 50. Just as like I've been to 1,000-member churches that weren't very excellent. So it's important that systems are in place. How do we do what we do for the reason why we do it? Systems protect the vision from getting lost in the details. Big dreams die without structure. Let me say it again. Big dreams die without structure. A vision is only as strong as the system that carries it. Why isn't my vision come to pass? I would question your system. Why are we moving? Why don't we have any momentum? I would question your system. Is your system? Why does this glass, I don't know how much this holds, 8 ounces, 6 ounces, whatever this cup is. Why would this cup only hold 6 ounces of water? Because it's designed to hold 6 ounces of water. God, for most of us, has put a 5-gallon bucket of vision inside of us. And you're wondering, God, why hasn't this come to pass? Maybe you've structured it to hold 16 ounces, 8 ounces, 10 ounces, a gallon, and you're wondering why the 5 gallons not here. What system is holding your ministry, your organization, your business together? I know for a fact there are things that I want to happen in my business that hasn't happened because I have not structured them yet to handle it. Because what if you woke up tomorrow and your church has tripled? Could you handle it with excellence? I didn't say you wouldn't be excited. I didn't say to your church, normal church people would be like, oh my God, he's here today. I'm not saying you wouldn't preach a little better. But could you take care of them at the level they need to be handled at? Most people will design their system at the level they are. And this is the coaching consulting side of me. Most people design their business at the level they are. When God has called us to see further than that, that if you're a 100-member church, you should be systematically setting your church up to be 300. And before you ever get to 300, you're moving to 5. And before you ever get to 5, you're moving to 1,000. And before you ever get to 1,000, you start moving to 2,000. Why? Because it's not about being the big church in town. It's about taking care of the responsibility that God has stewarded to you. Because we want the big, we want our businesses to grow to this much money. But imagine Brother James, I know I'm picking on you just because I know you're in the room more than anybody. But imagine your business doubling tomorrow. Could you handle the workload? Do you have enough employees to make it work and effectively and be the same excellent level that you usually give? We don't think like that because we just want God to show up and do it. And He will. He will. That's my next session. I want to talk about it. So please be here. He will. Systems protect the vision from getting lost in the details. Big vision, big dreams die without structure. A vision is only as strong as the system that carries it. Systems allow you to keep the microscope sharp without getting trapped underneath it. Here's some examples. As a leader, you should implement systems that make accountability and follow through natural. I always say this to churches: make your on-ramp big and make your off-ramp small. I always tell people, love the bus, not your seat on the bus. It's like gather as many people can. Well, there's certain levels. Yes, I'm not going to let somebody just got saved yesterday get up and preach a sermon. But you know what? They can be an usher really quick. They can smile at people and say, welcome. There's not much spiritual weight to that. It's important. First 7 minutes, any person walks into any business or church determines if they're coming back or not within first 7 minutes they visited. It's important that you don't have cat hair all over your shirt, sitting out in the front row, breath stinking. Hey, come, thanks for coming. It's important, right? You wouldn't go eat at a restaurant like that. Why do we lower God's house? It should be risen up higher. I know the argument sometimes, and trust me, I agree on some things. That the argument from small churches to big churches, they're just for show. They're for show. No. They just understand excellence sometimes a little higher. I want to raise your perspective. Your system matters. It matters. It lets the vision come alive. This doesn't mean being rigid. When I say natural, let your systems and your accountability follow through naturally. This doesn't mean being rigid. It means putting healthy rhythms in place so that details don't slip through the cracks. Some of you might have new members showing up or new people showing up at your church. Do you have a follow-through for that? Do you have them? Do you meet them? Do you get their name? Can you get their number so that you can contact them through the week? Is there a follow-through to keep connectivity into your community? The system. Think of systems as guardrails that keep people on track so you can stay focused on the bigger picture you need to be staying focused on. All right, last one. I know this isn't as exciting as preaching vision. I get it. But none of our vision is going to come to pass unless we think through this. We have to be leaders who use the microscope and the telescope. And knowing how to use it is where experience comes in. Number 5, practice reflection and adjust often. You ever used a microscope? You ever used a telescope? What are you constantly doing? You're constantly zooming in, out. You're trying to get the focus right. Practice reflection. Reflection is the leader's recalibration tool. Leaders who never stop to reflect repeat the same mistake. Have you ever noticed in your ministry, if it ever goes in a cycle, man, it feels like we get right here and then we get this momentum and then it just jumps right back to where it was. Have you reflected what you're doing to get it to that place? Is it a system problem? Is it a culture problem? Is it a vision problem? Is it an attitude problem? Is it I'm not clear enough problem? Is it I have not put the right people in the right position problem? They're on the bus, they're just in the wrong seat on the bus. It takes a microscope. It takes reflection. It takes sitting back and adjusting. Reflection allows you to see whether you zoomed in too much or you zoomed out too soon. And then adjust for the future. Here's an example. As a leader, you should take intentional time after big seasons or projects to ask what worked, what didn't, where did I need to zoom in more, where did I need to zoom out sooner. Reflection keeps you from drifting into habits that eventually damage either the details or the vision. It doesn't mean you have to get every volunteer involved or every staff member involved, but you and somebody else has to sit down and go, was this successful? And you need people putting a lens on that the other ones don't see. Okay? It's important that you sit back and assess the moment. This worked well, and not just get everybody that doesn't want to work and go, yeah, everything really looks great. Yeah, it's good. You need somebody in your group that goes, I felt this was a problem. We did a good job here, but I did notice that these people were left out. How do we correct that? This was really good, and God moved. Thankfully, he did, because everything else was a train wreck. Right? I'm so thankful for those graceful moments in life that when I didn't do my best, God still showed up. But that should not be our default. That is the exception. Hear me. That is the exception. When I do my best and I give my best, this ain't about salvation. This ain't about are you anointed or not. This is about being a good steward of what God has put in my life. I'll need to lead well. And I need to lead others well and give them an opportunity to lead well as well. So why does balance matter? Why balancing the telescope and the microscope? Why does that matter? Because effective leadership is the balance between vision and the details. We need the microscope to keep us grounded and the telescope to keep us inspired. You need both. In your finances, you need both. We want to pay off our house, but yet you keep spending money everywhere else. You need both. That's the vision, but the details matter. We're going to say no to this, so we get to say yes to that. Because every yes has a no, and every no has a yes. And the details matter. Let's see here, because the time. I'm going to get us out of here. Let me tell you the difference. I'm going to skip my little story here. I'm going to tell you the difference. Leadership is what comes down to the telescope and the microscope. They're not competing each other. I need you to understand that. The microscope doesn't compete with the vision, and the vision doesn't compete with the microscope or the details. Okay? The telescope and the microscope do not compete with each other. They complement each other. I don't want to give off the idea that, the microscope people are the better people in the room or the visionaries are the better. No. You are incomplete if there's only one showing up. You are complementing each other when they're both working together. The telescope lens inspires faith. The microscope lens protects health. The telescope lens calls us forward. The microscope lens keeps us grounded. Let me just read a few more of these before we close. The telescope lens ignites vision. The microscope lens strengthens culture. The telescope lens shapes the future, but the microscope lens stewards the present. The telescope lens sees the horizon, but the microscope lens watches the foundation so it doesn't crumble. The telescope lens mobilizes people. The microscope lens matures people. The telescope lens dreams of what could be. The microscope lens ensures what will last. You should be building a vision that will outlive you. You should be building a vision, and some of the things of that vision you won't ever see. Like I said at the beginning, some people that started this building and built this building are not even in this building anymore. You should build a vision that outlasts you. The telescope lens gives direction. The microscope lens gives stability. A couple more. The telescope lens asks, where are we going? The microscope asks, are we healthy enough to get there? The telescope lens sees the promise. The microscope lens guards the process. One helps us see the future of God is calling us toward, and the other one helps us steward the present. He has entrusted us with both. Over your family, over your ministry, over your business, He's entrusted you with both. Together, they allow us to do what others cannot, to see what others can't, and to see God's vision when the world only sees the obstacles. It helps us see the cracks before the foundation's crumbling and to see eternity while tending faithfully to the day. That's the power of the two lenses that God gives us, the microscope and the telescope. If we learn to master both lenses, we won't just lead well, good to lead well. We'll lead with an eternal impact. This is our calling, seeing what others cannot see, leading through two lenses. And I want to encourage you today, as a leader, this takes time. This takes experience and practice. I want you to know you ain't going to get it right. I don't get it right all the time. But the problem I find with people in leadership, because they get lost in the details, because they go through trial situations, because there's circumstances that arise, oftentimes we only lean to what is comfortable, what is natural for us. And God has not called us to do that. Growth doesn't come by doing what you always know what to do or how you do it well. It's able to combine both lenses. You need the telescope to see where God is taking us, to inspire others, to mobilize others. But you need that microscope so you can get down to the simple details that keep stability strong. That's how you lead your ministries. That's how you lead your church. That's how you lead your life. So, Father, today, as we close these first sessions out, as I spoke this from my heart, whether it's practical things, whether it's spiritual things that I hope inspired and encouraged and that it motivate, God, I know that we can trust you to accomplish anything. It's not that we have it all figured out. That is not faith. But God, what you have placed in our hands, we can do it well. We can do it with the heart for people, the heart for your kingdom. So this will outlive who we are. If you hold back another 100 years, God, none of us are going to be around to see it. But Lord, I know that what you put in our heart, the vision, the purpose for a community, for a people, tailored fit, God, that it can outlive and other people can pick up the mantle and take it forward. God, may we not come to the end of our life and sit back and go, well, you know what, I wish I had more time to do. May we give ourselves to what you have called us to the vision you've put in our heart, that burden to move your kingdom forward. And God, I pray right now for every person in this room that might be facing something difficult. I don't want to make light of it. Pain is pain, and it hurts, and it's difficult. But God, you've given us tools. You've given us disciplines to move forward and to do it well. And I thank you for it in the mighty name of Jesus. In Jesus' name, amen. You know, my prayer life changed when I learned a word. It's called discipline. Some things we think are demons are just simply disciplines. And when your life becomes more disciplined, I am not perfect. I got some disciplines to keep doing. But when your life becomes more disciplined, your prayer life will change. That is our responsibility. That's not God's. That's not that. And when our life becomes more disciplined in our finances, we ain't gonna be praying about certain things in our finances no more. When our life becomes more disciplined in our health, our prayer life will change about our health. There's some things we can't change, but there's a lot of things we can change. And I want to save my prayers for something big, not something I can change on my own. And I encourage you, change your prayer life. Bring the disciplines in as a leader. Leaders are disciplined people. That's what leadership is. It's not fun. It's not always exciting. Sometimes it's the difficult path to do. But I want to save my big prayers for something big, not something I can change on my own. Be encouraged today. I don't know where we want to go from here, Pastor James. Yes, thank you. We'll talk about our next part of how to use those lenses.